enough for our agenda?
Comment.
I'm really wanting to get to this picnic table leg agenda item. All right, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob's been messing with my chair.
Yep. That's a little too low.
All right, whatever. Let's get started. Welcome to the first Board of Commissioners meeting of September, and I have one person signed up for public comment, and that is Dick. Good morning, Dick.
Good morning.
Dick?
I'm going to ask one question, and on the day use signs out at Bassadorf Beach, how come that wasn't brought across the Board of Commissioners to put up the sign?
We don't typically approve, we don't approve signs that go up. That's something we delegate to the departments.
Well, I know the first time I asked about it, John didn't know who did it, and then the next time he explained why. But it should have come across the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Anybody else for public comment? It's not signed up? I think my only other public here is Phil, so I'm just gonna look at you. No?
We can't see your smile, Phil.
All right. Going once, going twice. We're gonna find out about John Rose picnic table legs then. First item on the agenda is 3A, request approval to purchase picnic table legs, Parks.
Morning, Johnny.
Well, this is one we had the lowest bidder approved until we researched it a little better. And the lowest bidder had 6-foot picnic tables, and we wanted 8-foot picnic tables, and they weren't galvanized with no hardware. Number 2 bidder had no hardware, so the only one that had everything we wanted was the highest bid. It's only $900 the difference between the low and the high. And that's the one we should be going with. It's hot dip galvanized, the thick metal with all the hardware. So that's the one we want to go with.
Okay. Well, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, move to approve the purchase amount of $18,500 for galvanized picnic legs for the Park Catalog Highland Products Group LLC vendor.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Your next item is reclass of position and approval of revised job description.
Yeah, this is the revised resolution that we want to go with the step 3 instead of step 2.
Okay, Madam Chair, move to approve revised job description and reclassification of pay grade for Parks Operations Supervisor position effective August 1st, 2020, and approve Resolution 20-08-156P.
Second.
Okay? Discussion?
I got a question.
Yes, sir?
In this approval, is there a pay raise coming right behind it?
Nope. Yes, there's a pay raise in
That's
there.
Yeah.
a little one, yeah.
Yeah, whatever, you know, I mean, county parks has run for years, but then you want to approve somebody new and then give them a pay raise. So that's where I stand.
Thanks, Dick.
This is an existing employee who has had a change of position and responsibility and has stepped up and doing a very, very good job.
I think it's, I'm going to read some of your background on this, John, unless you want to read it. But it says, Craig Storm's position of Parks Operations Supervisor has evolved as a result of the restructuring and is now directly responsible for supervising 9 employees, plus additional supervisory responsibilities that he did not have previously. And that's why they're asking for the change of class. Which makes sense to me, and I've mentioned this to you before, that I like to see additional responsibilities if we're looking at reclassing someone. And you've also done away with the position, or you've evolved it into Public Works, of the position that did previously supervise the parks. Okay? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
John, before you leave, could you tell the board and everyone in the room how we're doing at parks this year? Pretty remarkable
Tammy
increase.
just told me this morning, right now, compared to last year, we're plus 142,000 in revenue right now, which is quite amazing
That is amazing, given the fact that parks were closed for how long?
for 2 months.
2 months.
Solid.
Mm-hmm.
But as I told John Sweet, I got Oregon State's mobility changes because of COVID. And it's kind of interesting, we're statewide, parks traffic is plus 120%, but Coos County is plus 211% in mobility traffic, and Douglas County's 229% increase in parks mobility, which is pretty outstanding. So
Mhm.
everybody's going to the parks, cities, state and county parks, so
Impressive.
that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. And before you get away, would you talk to everybody about the grants for 10 Mile Park?
Okay, for 10 Mile Parks, we did get the 2 aluminum gangway grants approved,
Mhm.
and the ADA kayak launch on the multi-use docks.
Mm-hmm.
We had to add a little bit more money for that one on the multi-use dock because the ODW dollars for the fishermen, so we had to add 18,000, but, you know, we still got it, so.
Right.
Right now, I'm changing the one for Bassendorf Beach. They want corrections for the playground, so hopefully we get that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, it was good, because out at Lakeside, it needs some refurbishment.
yeah, those
Mhm.
gangways are in
Yeah.
desperate repairs.
Yep.
Desperate needs.
There's a group in Lakeside that wants to do a free life jacket handout or exchange thing like they have down at the Port Abandon.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Like a rack with life jackets on it
Yeah,
for
so
kids?
that if you show up there without a life jacket or kid doesn't have one, that-
Yeah, the kids
One
don't
is
float
available.
thing.
That'd be a good deal.
I think it'd be a good deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Nice to see the public stepping up and helping too.
Yeah. Thank you,
Makes
John.
sense.
Okay. Next agenda item is Timber Operation and Patrol Services Program. Sheriff?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sheriff.
This is the Timber Operation and Patrol Services TOPS program. The Sheriff's Office has a program for timber patrols on public and private timberlands, Coos County. 50% of the cost of a full-time patrol deputy is split by the amount of acres owned by each of the following. We're asking the board to review, approve, and sign a contract with Coquille Indian Tribe. Funding source is 342.0101. I believe it's, if I read it correctly, because they put it upside down with the rest of it, it is $1,324.80.
Revenue to the county.
Correct.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve and sign the contracts and agreements relating to Timber and Operation Patrol Services program.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff. You have a late agenda item, request approval of lease proposal for inclusion of CFPA to radio system.
That'll be Mr.
Okay. Do you want to do
Dave
the,
Fabrizio.
is he doing the Marine Board contract too, or you want to just
No,
hang out for a
I'm doing
minute?
that
Okay. So, you're
Can I
fine.
go first?
Yeah, sure. We'll keep things in order.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mhm.
Good morning. So this is in relation to the Measure 6178, the levy that was on May's ballot. CFPA, although they've been part of the planning process the whole time due to financial considerations, we didn't put them on the initial SOW, statement of work, just to make sure that we had enough money with that 20 cents per thousand, because of course we want to keep it as low as possible for the population. Now that we're nearing the end of the final system design, we're really close. It's apparent that the monies collected, even at a conservative estimate for the taxes, will cover the additional cost of adding CFP to the towers.
Mhm.
So I've talked to Government Capital. They've agreed to basically enter into another lease with the same percentage, 2.29%, which will allow us to put CFP on all towers, which is wonderful news. I'm glad we're able
Great.
to. So So I'm asking you to approve a 5-year lease from Government Capital. They sent it to us on the 25th in the amount of $343,018 for the inclusion of CFPA on the planned radio communications system. And it won't cost any general fund money. It'll all be covered by the levy.
Okay,
I move that we approve a 5-year lease proposal from Government Capital dated 8/25/20 in the amount of $343,018 for the inclusion of Coos Forest Protective Association into the planned radio communications system.
Sorry.
discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
CFPA was supposed to have been included in this all along, so it's not like it's a last-minute addition to something. It was just an oversight. And the communication system for everybody, basically, is using part of their sites
Yes, sir.
in addition to our existing sites. So having them on board uses a whole lot more sites and much better coverage.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
No.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Captain.
Thank you.
Sheriff, amendment number 3 to Oregon State Marine Board contract.
Yes, this is amendment number 3 to the current law enforcement intergovernment agreement, with the State Marine Board. It's adding an additional $80,000 to the current contract of $425,926 for 2021. And this is to include the $80,000 for the purchase of the 2020 River Wild 24-foot center console jet boat, replacing our old boat.
Okay, Madam Chair, move to approve amendment number 3 and authorize chair to sign.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. My next agenda item is Bloom Consulting Alcohol Outlet Density Mapping in Coos County with Mike Rowley.
Yeah, so we are requesting to contract with Bloom County to do the mapping on the alcohol density around Coos County, and that is one of our annual ADPEP projects this year.
Alcohol and Drug Prevention and Education Program? Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
So, Madam Chair, I'm confused.
Yes, sir?
This is to produce a map? Is that correct?
Yes, density mapping as well as assessing the community needs.
So, OLCC already knows who the outlets are, the restaurants, the bars, the grocery stores, the OLCC storefronts, et cetera. They know where all those are at. Why would we need a map to show us where they're at? I'm confused. And why is it sole source when there might be other consulting outfits that could perform this work for $16,000?
Mike, can you answer that?
Could I add to that as
Oh,
well?
sorry. Well-
Sorry. What is the goal here? How will this, where will this get us?
So what we're trying to do is map the density of these alcohol places that serve that, and then overlay it with other items which may be police reports or some other thing that's tied to it, so you can kind of get a picture of what's going on. And this is something that's done all over the state.
So we don't know where the
Has
hot
there-
spots are? Never mind.
Have other people found a correlation between where people drink and the way they act?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
that is what we plan to see from this data, but we don't necessarily have to map it to that data. There are other data points that they were talking about possibly using.
Well, wouldn't the police departments know where the high rates of incidents are? I mean,
But that doesn't necessarily tie it to the density of the alcohol.
So, and then in addition to that, this is the only consulting firm that can do this? That seems kind of strange.
No, but we are using the same person on LADPC for her consulting work there.
I would think you'd put this out for bid.
Mike, I think we need to table this and have a bigger discussion about it. I think the commissioners would like to understand more what you're trying to do with this.
Mhm.
And, whether this is a project that has been done before. Other questions?
Yeah, just reading this, I'm scratching my head going, had a lot of wonderings, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to
Okay.
send Mike your questions so he can
Yeah, I will.
address them?
Thanks, Mike.
Commissioner Sweet?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have questions also that you want to send to Mike to have him address? And I do too. So we'll all send you questions, Mike. It'll be great.
Okay.
Thank you. And that is tabled. The next agenda item is request hiring of Scott Murray. Mike?
Yeah, apparently when we hired Scott Murray, we didn't quite go through our process, so that's why we're doing this as a kind of after the fact. But we hired Scott as an IMT kind of floater for us after we lost Philip. And also he will help fill in or back up Kathy, who we don't have a backup for as of yet. So this is our designated backup.
Okay.
And we expect to be able to recover these funds?
Yes, and also just to note that even though we are hiring him, this is not a ongoing position. At some point when IMT disbands, this position will go away.
Okay, so everyone's aware it's a temporary position.
Right.
Okay.
I move, we approve hiring of Scott Murray into the IMT response team position of Incident Management Team Assistant at Step 2 of pay grade 756, $4,000 per month, and assign Resolution 20-08-168P.
All right. Do we have a second?
I have a second.
Discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Mike, something caught my attention. When Mr. Murray was hired, did he know this was a temporary position?
I did not give that to him, but I did talk to him
Doesn't know.
yesterday to just make sure that he was going to assign something that acknowledges he knows it's a temporary position.
But he's already hired.
He knew,
Right.
Bob,
Huh?
he knew.
Well, I'm concerned what Mike said is, he was hired already, this is after the fact, and that, then Mike says that this is a temporary position, so I was curious if Mr. Murray knew this was a temporary position.
Caroline?
Yes, so Scott Murray was always aware that it was a temporary position. He's helping
Okay.
us out with COVID. After he was hired, it became knowledgeable to me that he intends to retire under PERS. And so the way I put him into the payroll system wasn't going to work for payroll. And so we decided to do this paperwork retroactively. As of this date, his PERS application is still in process. But at some point, I assume that he will be approved for retiring under PERS. And that's why he suddenly fell under the PERS retiree policy.
Okay.
Okay,
And pursuant to that, I had to have the board approve for PERS retiree. And then Nat and I have worked on a employment contract that clearly states that the position is temporary and it's over to Scott for review. And so that's why things changed after he left.
Okay.
Because originally I did not know that he was going to retire under PERS and come back. I thought he was just going to take this position temporarily. But for the record, in all my discussions with him, he has always understood that the position is temporary.
okay, that clears that up, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
and federal funding from the state for ballot security. Debbie?
Morning, Debbie.
Good morning.
And Deb?
So the state has received money that they're gonna disperse out to all the counties. At this time, they've allotted 30,000 to each county to use for ballot security, election security. So there's some items that I have selected that we could use it for.
Mhm.
I do get a lot of requests for what I call permanent ballot boxes throughout the county. City of Coos Bay has one. So I've got that down for the 22,000. That should include signage. I'm still waiting on quotes for the signage because where you buy the ballot boxes, I want them all to look the same so that no matter where anybody drives, it won't look like the one in front of the courthouse, but all the other ones. And I've got it up to, at this time, 5 of them. That would cover one in each city. For Lakeside, Powers, and Little Point, they'd be a little bit smaller box. And then I'll have to work with the cities and everything to find locations to put those. And with maintenance helping me install them, I've got that not to exceed 22,000. Another item that was pointed out that we needed is a new air conditioner that's larger than the one that's in the server room in case things get too warm. It was found during an inspection that it was a little above temperature. So Mike, didn't get a hold of him in time to get it on here, but he had kind of gave me an estimate about 5,000, so I moved it to 6 because he didn't give me room. I need to get a hold of him to make sure it not to exceed that. A new requirement that we're gonna have is these little fire suppression devices. And just went on Amazon, I've done research on which ones are the best. And so I've got $600 for that. And then we're still, we're during this election and every election, we need to help our people get registered to vote. So we're not letting them in our office at this time. My staff's very uncomfortable with that. So we're gonna put up a customer service window, kind of like state courts, so you can talk through it. A mail slot to hand us stuff. Plus, we're gonna put in a sneeze guard at the counter, so when all the board workers come in and out, past the workers that's sitting at the desk. So that quote I've received. So I didn't get a total, but it's just under the 30,000. So just wanna get approval to apply and accept these federal funds from the Secretary of State. I have asked them if we have to sign any contracts or agreements. They did not respond to my email at this time. They've been pretty preoccupied with a possible recall that's not gonna happen, so maybe I can resend it and get that information. But we did get the line, or where the funds come from. Megan needed that, so I got that.
Okay.
I
Madam,
move that we approve applying for and accepting federal HAVA funds for ballot security items listed herein, along with approval to purchase those items.
a second.
All right, discussion? All those in,
Will we have any trouble tying the air conditioner unit in the server room to the proposed uses? Maybe?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
because that was to do with,
that was one of the shortcomings that was identified, right, when you had the inspection?
yeah, when that was a short one.
The one that Bob attended.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
By Homeland Security.
Yes.
yes.
All right.
All right.
Right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Debbie. Late agenda item, initiation of accelerated redemption period. Nathaniel and Desiree.
All right, who reads it?
You do.
Oh, I read it. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, so this is a request for the BOC to consider directing my office to initiate the process to accelerate the redemption period on a property that's in tax foreclosure pursuant to ORS 312.122. The property is tax account 331823. That's at 809 Augustine Street in Coos Bay, Oregon. I've attached with the agenda item some information, and Desiree has handed out some additional pictures. We also have some information from the code enforcement in Coos Bay regarding what appear to be multiple violations of their city code that are occurring on the property and have occurred on the property.
Correct. And
So-
this,
Yeah, go ahead.
this item, or this particular property located at 809 Augustine has been on the radar since 2009. They've been under violation in several ways since then. The owner of the property listed is in serious health condition and has been moved out as of last September by a relative. They now live down by Grants Pass. The current tenants are family that live there and have been notified of all of the violations, and the city of Coos Bay is actually who notified us that they were having issues with this property and asked what we could do about it, and they contacted planning asking if it was in the accelerated foreclosure or reduced redemption, and they said not at this time, therefore contacting me and saying, can we move forward with that? So we are presenting that as an item that we would like to go forward with.
Okay.
I move that we determine the above listed property be subject to waste or abandonment and approve order 20-08-049L initiating accelerated redemption proceeding.
Yes, second.
Okay, discussion?
Madam Chair, if I may, just a personal opinion observation that at least 3 cities don't enforce their ordinances like this. I know of multiple incidences in the 3 cities I'm thinking about that send people letters and never do anything about it. And then they want us to do it. It's, never mind. I guess that's enough.
That's a fair point. No, I understand. We don't get a lot of communication with a lot of the cities in the county regarding
Mhm.
issues like this. They do in fact have started to reach out more, since we've been more vocal about, if you have a problem, let us know and we'll do what we can to at least bring it to someone's attention. So that's kind of how we got on this track, and just trying to do our best to clean up the county in any way we can and help out, especially since this has been on their radar for so long and their hands are tied with what they can do.
Yeah, I think this is a tool that we have that the other taxing district, the communities do not have to get these properties cleaned up.
Well, yeah, but they still could enforce their ordinances, or why have them? I know one property in one of the cities where 4 different families in 4 different abodes were living on a 50 by 100 lot, all connected to water and sewer, and the city just ignored it. And they had multiple complaints and multiple signatures from people up and down their particular street, and nothing ever happened to them.
See, I just look at it as, we have a responsibility and a duty to preserve the property value, and when we become aware that a property that's close to going into foreclosure is subject to waste, or
I got
diminution of
all
the
that.
value.
Yeah, I got all
We
that.
have a responsibility to
Just
act.
that I wish the cities would enforce their own ordinances.
And to protect the neighbors too,
Mhm.
because we've had
'Cause-
issues with transients coming in and out, and
The one I was talking about was a busy place, and all the neighbors up and down that particular street signed a letter to the city, and it was ignored.
well, hopefully this will be another link in the chain of cleaning up the county.
I'll have to say, it's not a problem that's unique to the cities.
Yeah, I know
We
that.
have more than our share.
Yeah, we
of
have them too,
these
but
properties.
we do something.
Yeah, I
We
don't
kinda
know
be
how
calling
many
the
is on
pot-
the list.
What do we, kettle calling the pot black?
Well, actually,
if
we
were
do
to
do this,
Raise an issue.
which
about
we're
it.
doing.
All right. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you.
And thank you, Nat. Order closing the Coos County Forest to motor vehicles until September 15th, 2020. Nat?
I'll read this one, and then I think John has some knowledge of some of the particular facts on it.
Okay.
On August 31st, the county forester closed the Coos County Forest to motor vehicle access pursuant to section 6.02.050 of the Coos County Code. Apparently there were a number of fires that had occurred on the county forest, and there's some hazardous fire conditions with the dry weather we've been having. Under the Coos County Code, the county forester can close the entire forest to a particular use for 3 days, and then the board would have to authorize an additional closure. The attached order would close the county forest to motor vehicles until September 15th, 2020. That's the next board meeting, unless the forester determines before that it should be lifted, and then it would authorize it being lifted in the discretion of the forester at any time before that.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Is there a requirement that we close it until a date certain?
No, but the reason I did the 15th is that's our next meeting, so the order could just be extended at that point.
Okay.
So I figured if it hadn't been opened, we could just look at it then.
Okay.
I thought maybe we had a 2-week limit or something.
No,
Yeah, that's what I was checking.
it could be indefinite.
I would like to also discuss, no motor vehicles, but it doesn't address people walking in or riding their bicycle or something in and smoking. So I would like to restrict smoking in the county forest, also unless it's in an enclosed vehicle.
I thought we had a ban on smoking on county property generally.
Yeah, we do, but I'd like to just add that in that says you can't go wandering around smoking and
Can they
and
use chewing
somehow
tobacco?
maybe lighting a fire, because this county forest, if people don't realize it, is the only thing that supplies funds for the sheriff's office patrol and dispatch and civil and the district attorney's office and the assessor's office and the tax office and the clerk's office and elections and HR and survey and commissioners and et cetera.
Legal counsel.
And county council,
Yep.
planning, juvenile.
Yeah.
This is, the county forest is the only source of funds we have to keep these offices going. You probably heard my talk about the actual property tax that we get, total property tax. You've probably heard about it once before, but I'll just keep reiterating it.
If you would repeat it, that
It's-
would be great.
Yeah, I
Be
know.
helpful for people that
It's
haven't heard it.
5.5 million we get in property tax. To keep the jail open is 6.6 million. Doesn't even cover the cost of keeping the jail open at 98 beds, and we have a capacity of 250. So it doesn't cover all the other departments that I just talked about. So that's why we're so sensitive about protecting this county forest and the revenue it provides us.
I think it's a fair point.
I think that's
You're right.
probably enough.
Yeah, okay. Commissioner Sweet, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I have some concern. We have a pretty bad weather forecast that came out since yesterday at least. And we've already taken, the forest has already,
Meaning
or the
more hot,
forests in the county have already, pardon me,
meaning more hot weather.
more hot weather,
Okay.
more wind.
All right.
For an extended period of time. And since yesterday, when the county forester decided to do this, the fire rating has been moved from danger to extreme.
Mhm.
So I'm anticipating there's going to be ultimately more closures than this coming up. Is there a way, Matt, that we can anticipate that and authorize additional closures for logging and whatever else we need to do, so we don't have to have another meeting or wait until the next meeting?
So, in the rules as they're currently written, there's explicit authority for the county forester to essentially close down the entire forest for any access for up to 3 days before ratification by the board. I would be of the opinion that if we wanted to add into an order saying that we are giving some temporary delegation of further authority based on the conditions as they exist, that's something that could be put, if the board wants it, that's something that could be put into an order to create some flexibility in between now and when the board meets again on the 15th, so I think we can do that.
Yeah, could we, so I would propose to amend the order to include that and smoking.
So that's your motion, because we didn't get a motion on the table.
Yeah.
We don't have a motion at all,
Yeah.
okay?
No.
Then I move that we amend the proposed order to grant, what's the word, county forester, the right to, increase the severity of the closure and to include smoking in the amendment.
Smoking prohibition.
And just in case there's any hitch and we don't meet on September 15th, could we extend the closure period until September 22nd? Every once in a while, we delay meetings a week. I don't know that we will.
We could just say until open, back up again.
That would be my inclination.
Okay,
So we could amend the order to state that the period of time is indefinite until the board, the order is
Until
effective
lifted.
until the board concludes that the threat that we're experiencing with extreme fire danger has subsided.
that works.
Would that work?
Mhm.
And then and so the board will have to state that this order is no longer in effect. Of course, the order already allows the county forester to roll back restrictions in the meantime if they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that
I
would
agree
work.
with that.
Dick, Phil, sorry. Yes. Go.
Thought I was gonna get out of talking.
No such luck. I knew you'd want to talk about this one.
Is it okay if I take it off? Phil Thompson, Coos Bay. You know, it's odd that you even brought this across the board because John's had the forest basically closed down since last year. They had no elk hunting, any place people couldn't go in. They couldn't get their elk out or anything else. And Bob, I can see where we're heading right now. This is, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
You're coming up trying to put fear in all these people saying the sheriff's, we'll be supporting the sheriff and all that. I think basically everybody is in agreement. We don't want to burn the forest down.
Yeah.
But we don't want to shut it down either. And that's where we've been for over a year. And you guys, I don't care what you say, it's wrong. And even now, I guess some of the guys got elk takes. I don't bow hunt.
Mhm.
But there's gonna be something come down on this force, even if we have to get a petition and stuff up and make it legal. Cause this is bull crap that you all the time, like I said, I don't even know why you bring this across the board. Cause you had it shut down basically all the time, from what I've saw. And what you don't shut down, you give private ownership the right to put gates up. Now, has anybody ever asked anything about Road 166G that you give that big old gate to out there? You remember that? Melissa's the only
I do,
one,
yeah.
knew where it was at anyway. But now, if that guy subdivides all that property, that road runs down through it, what are you gonna do? Give him a gated way to a complex? You guys don't look at nothing but you said. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
Where's this gate at?
Huh?
It was-
Where's this property?
Out 166G,
Where's
you
that?
guys signed the paper with the lawyer,
Where is that?
out $7.
Oh,
The old county, out the old county done.
I got
Yeah.
you.
He owns all that road, both sides, land for about a half of that road. But he's got a big gate there you can walk in. But now what I'm asking you, if he subdivides his property,
I don't think
is he
it's-
gonna have a gated
I
community
don't
there?
think it's zoned for subdivision.
Well, things change all the time, Bob. That can be, all you gotta have is a little money to come here and spend. I guarantee you they can get it.
The present is not zoned for subdivision.
They can get it.
They got golf courses and everything out there, and I'm sorry, anyway.
Okay.
I want to talk for the record here. I know this is an emotional issue for a lot of people, but I also want to advise everyone that most of the time, most of the roads on the county forest are open. And there are some roads that are closed for specific reasons, when there's a safety issue or when there's an operator there. Logging, we don't want people in there stealing his equipment or putting themselves in the way of danger. But I was out in the county forest last weekend. There were people apparently bow hunting. I don't know what else they've been doing, but there were several cars out there doing that. We had 4 fires start in one area.
And we haven't had any lightning.
And we haven't had any lightning. And so there are also some people that seem to get a kick out of doing bad things. And there's too much risk right now. And I don't see that we are closing the forest or have closed the forest. We have motorcycle riders out there. We have target shooters out there. In certain places, there are some places we shut down because the people have violated the trust and they're damaging the property. And we, as commissioners, have a responsibility to keep that property whole. We have a lot of people who don't want vehicles going down every road where they like to hunt. They like to go to a place where people don't have that. We have people accessing the forest, like I said, for target shooting, for bicycle riding. We've had a rash of illegal camping on the forest, and we've had some fires. This is a precaution, Phil, that we're taking to protect a public investment, of which you own part of that. And I'm sorry, we can't keep every road, or don't keep every road open to everyone that wants to drive out there. But we're not going to do that, and for good reason. That's all I have to say.
Okay, to get back to
And no,
yours,
and that was my comment. I normally don't engage in this discussion for the simple reason, this is not a forum where we have a give and take. You've had your piece, I've had my piece, I'm done.
okay, so I would just like to comment on what you said. Now,
When does this stop?
whenever the county, the public lands, you let the people use them. That's when it stops, Mr. Sweet.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any further clarifications on this order? I think it's important to note, and I guess I will say this, that none of the commissioners take this lightly. We're well aware of the coronavirus. We're well aware of the fact that, being able to be out on the forest has been a release for a lot of people at a time when they're stuck inside. And we want people to continue to be able to use the forest and recreate on the forest, but we also have a duty to keep the forest safe. And so this is us expressing the least number of restrictions that we feel we can impose and still be good stewards of the forest. I mean, that's where I'm at. I think I speak for my colleagues when I say that.
Better
This
said
is,
than I said. Thank you.
this is definitely not entered into lightly and is not meant to, it's not meant to damage the public in any way. But when we have fires in Mapleton, I mean, that was over 300 acres of big timber. That's an expensive fire and a dangerous fire, a really dangerous fire. And a big fire on the county forest is dangerous to everyone who lives in Coos County. We were lucky we caught those fires on Sunday and stopped them before they became really significant, but it's a danger. So with that, just wanted my chance to rail. Are we ready for the motion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we will adjourn as the Board of Commissioners and
We forgot to address an issue in executive session. Can we, how do you handle that? Can we
Yeah.
go back into executive session?
at the end, sure.
Do we need to adjourn?
We will, but we have to do a library services district
Oh, okay.
agenda item first.
I'm sorry. I
No, you're
jumped
good.
ahead of that.
So we will adjourn as the Board of Commissioners and reconvene as the Library Service District. And we have one agenda item. which is to approve the contract for library services for July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This contract provides for the distribution of the district's funds. Do we have a motion to approve and sign the contract for library services for fiscal year 2021?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we will adjourn as the Library Services District and reconvene as the Coos County Board of Commissioners. And the Board of Commissioners needs to go back into executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. Which one?
And this would be 2H.
2H, consultation with counsel. And so with that, we will come back into open session at some point. But I don't anticipate that we will have any additional agenda items at that point. Okay. So, thank you.
Commissioner comments?
We can do
before we-
commissioner comments
and then
first.
people
All right, we're
Feel free to leave.
out of executive, yeah. So what are your commissioner comments?
Mr. May.
Back out of executive session.
Yeah, we're back out of executive session for commissioner comments.
Recently had a phone Zoom type meeting with Barry Bashew, who is the BLM Director for Oregon and Washington, with the Executive Committee, the President, I'm the Vice President, and the Secretary Treasurer, and our executive staff for ONC Association. We had I think, a very good meeting. It was amenable, open, and I hope for good things to come with this new director for the ONC.
Great.
Okay,
Commissioner Sweet?
is that all?
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to parks for a few minutes. John Rowe indicated that we've had fantastic usage of our parks this year. I think due in part to the virus, which is causing people to enjoy outdoors more than normal, but also because I think our Parks Department is doing a really amazing job in kind of spiffing up our parks, providing new services such as the kayak launch that John mentioned. They've upgraded the fire pits, they're upgrading the tables, they've planted some trees. They're doing their best to make our parks more attractive and higher use. And I think they've accomplished that. So I really want to thank them for the entire Parks Department under the leadership now of John Rowe for that. We talked about the county forest fire closure. A week ago today, DEQ held their annual inspection of our three solid waste dumps, landfills that are in closure, and the inspection seemed to have gone very, very well. I think we passed that with flying colors. We don't really know until we get a final report, but that looks good. Household hazardous, solid waste, like parks, seems to be thriving this year. I don't know if people staying home, they must be cleaning their houses out and their garages out and bringing a lot of the stuff to the landfill. So that works well for us. That's all I have.
Can't buy any canning jar lids. Just try to find them.
You want me to search at the dump? Maybe you have
If
some
you-
recycled ones.
If you've got some at the dump, no.
What size?
Wide mouth?
I'll look. I think I probably got some.
There you go. See, this is how it gets done. Thanks. I have 2 boxes, but I need more. I need to can tuna this weekend.
Oh.
I know.
That's something, yeah.
What a project, huh? Well, it's a great time to can tuna if anybody's thinking about canning tuna. Good time to go buy your fish out in Charleston and support some of our local fishermen. I put down a few quick notes for things I wanted to make sure I mentioned. The Alonzo Tucker project had a meeting. Coos Bay hired the Coos History Museum to do a convening to talk about what kind of memorial they need to have to Alonzo Tucker in Coos Bay. He's the person who was lynched in the early 1900s in Coos Bay. And I did attend that meeting by Zoom. It was an interesting meeting. I think it will be it will take a lot of skill to achieve consensus on that one. And, you know, I urge them to think about who the community was when they're talking about getting community buy-in on that, because I think there's a lot of investment in the outcome that maybe is outside of just Coos Bay. There's people looking for a specific outcome, and they need to make sure that they, you know, it'd be a shame to finish the project and not have people satisfied with the outcome. So I'm sure they will have many more meetings. AOC had a budget committee meeting and a finance committee meeting and an executive committee meeting, all of which I attended, and we had a discussion about the budget. I think we'll be looking at a 2% dues increase, 2.5% dues increase for the next year, just to keep up with inflation. But that was a very active discussion, and took a while to come to consensus. And the Elliott State Research Forest project continues to go on, which is the task force that was convened and is being led by Division of State Lands in order to look at what to do with the Elliott. I attended the governance subcommittee meeting because we've had a strong interest in how it's governed. And there's been a discussion about, apparently if you're going to sell carbon on the carbon market down in California, you have to be private governance. I don't think I was out of line in saying that there's no way that my fellow commissioners or the citizens of Coos County would agree to any private governance model on this. You know, I mean, that was a huge issue when Lone Rock was looking at buying it, was the fact that it would be privately owned and the people wouldn't have any say. And I heard that actually echoed from other groups that were at the table. And so I believe they're looking at taking that off the table, but then it will, of course, continue the question of how the state is going to afford to, how someone is going to afford to pay for the Elliott, because carbon credits were part of the plan. And with carbon credits essentially being off the table if they can't have a private governance model, then somebody has to come up with $130 million, which we have, but we're surely not going to kick it in.
Trying to bail the state out.
Mention that Coos and Douglas are still interested.
Well, the discussion continues, and, you know, Oregon State has taken budget cuts with this, with COVID, and they have eliminated some positions, and this is scheduled to go back in front of the land board in December for another decision point. I think it's important that we stay in the conversation, but I don't know that I think
Reading
it's going to be done.
initial proposed HCP for the Elliott, and it's somewhat concerning in that their amount of actual harvest will be smaller than it is today.
Their amount of actual harvest, my understanding is, will give them
Which is almost nothing.
about, what, $3 to $5 million a year, which is enough to pay the bills, but not enough to pay the mortgage. So,
That forest is what, 1, 2, 6 times larger than our county forest, and we get that off of our county forest?
yeah. Well, and, you know, I think from a very public safety oriented perspective, you have to be concerned about the fire danger and the continued fuel loads, because the Elliott continues to grow. You're going to continue to add fuel load up there, and, you know, on a late fall day with the wind blowing in the right direction, it poses a risk. So,
I never understood, for all the people who want to preserve, if you have a fire, you wipe out everything that you're trying to preserve, and I don't understand that mindset.
yeah.
The jobs are wiped out, the support of families is wiped out, all the wildlife except for the birds who can fly away are wiped out, or run away, maybe. Streams are clogged, all that kind of stuff. The wood is barely usable for milling for whatever use we have.
Depending on how long the fire burns and how hot.
So how does that make any sense compared to properly utilizing that product?
And I mean, you know, I am very proud of our county forest and the way that it's run and operated and managed, and it's a managed forest.
Mhm.
And we get multi-use out of it,
You know,
but
when you
not everybody
open
looks
up
at it that way.
the forest in places, you have an explosion of everything that was in the ground, the seeds, et cetera.
Mhm.
So you have the grasses and the forbs come up, which then you have an increase in mice, rodents, rabbits, et cetera, which, quote, spotted owls, raptors, et cetera, feed on. Otherwise, that isn't there. And
Mhm.
then there's places for deer and elk and everything else to feed on, and you've utilized that wood, and it's provided income for people and for their families, and that also then multiplies in your community, those funds. So I was listening to a poet. You may not know this, but poet is the Pacific Ocean Energy Trust. They are involved with this whole wind energy possible project off the coast here. And they had a person from the Audubon Society on talking about bird strikes for the windmills.
Mhm.
And they said they really didn't have any data for bird strikes out in the ocean. They have lots of data inland, which kills multiple thousands of birds every year. The thing that struck me, though, was this person from the Audubon Society, who has a fairly high position with them, said, well, they don't know how many birds might get struck. They could just grow more birds, quote unquote. They could just grow more birds. And I'm thinking, well, if that's the case, and that's Audubon's position, then why can't the timber industry, et cetera, grow more owls and merlets?
I'm not
I
biting,
wonder.
I'm not biting on this. I'm not gonna opine,
know?
I'm not gonna
Should
say
we turn
anything.
our fish hatcheries into bird hatcheries?
Sanctuaries, yeah. But I just wondered if you can grow more birds out in the ocean, or augment the strikes by growing more birds, why can't you do that on land? With owls, merlets, et cetera.
All right, I don't know, I'm staying out of that argument. Are we ready to go to executive session?
Yeah.
All right, I think we are. So we
Thank you all.
are now adjourned, and the Board of Commissioners will move to executive session. Thank you. My phone was blowing up there for a minute.
One thing I didn't ask was, plan out about the use of the park pickup on the break.
I don't think we have to. John was here, he heard that. John was here in the meeting when
He
that
heard ya.
happened, he heard it. I can tell you, knowing John, we don't have to, it's been dealt with.
John will take care of it. I
Dealt
haven't
with
heard
what?
about it,
Sorry,
but
what
I think
was it?
it'll get taken care of.
Dick,
Well, I talked to him outside about it,
Yeah.
Today?
and then I talked to Melissa, I said, well,
Yeah.
Oh, afterwards, last meeting?
no, this